So, why is it that there is so much of late diagnosis happening now recently?
So one could be because there is increasing awareness. People are coming out more because one, yes, of the awareness. Two, they want to break the stigma, possibly. Three, also because it's become such a commonly used term that, oh, I am depressed. Oh, I think I was autistic or I am autistic. So it could be, one of the three or a combination of the three.
You are recently diagnosed on the spectrum. What was that moment that you felt that yes, this is something that I relate to, and what led you to go and get a diagnosis done?
See, I wouldn't only blame it on whole and soul on the education system. I think the root problem of everything around us is Asian parenting. By my family, taken to a lot of psychologists and therapists, they did not help me. I had to switch on around six the professionals to finally get my answers, and I wouldn't say validation, but I think it was kind of a validation.
So, welcome both of you to the Dolly Show today. We have our two very special guests and a very special and an interesting topic that we will be covering. So, yes, we have our professional who is Nikita ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. And we have our individual on the spectrum who is Nirav. Welcome, a very warm welcome to both of you. So, the topic that we are going to discuss today is late autism diagnosis. We all know, to start with, that we have always spoken about early intervention, children on the spectrum, diagnosis of children. But what about late diagnosis, adult autism, and the diagnosis, which is a very important topic and it needs to be addressed. So, to start with, I would love to put in a question for you, ma'am. So, why is it that there is so much of late diagnosis happening now recently?
So one could be because there is increasing awareness. People are coming out more because one, yes, of the awareness. Two, they want to break the stigma, possibly. Three, also because it's become such a commonly used term that, oh, I am depressed. Oh, I think I was autistic or I am autistic. So it could be, one of the three or a combination of the three. I don't know.
Interesting. So, to validate this, we have Neerav with us. Neerav, you need to tell us. So, I did pop in this question as why is this happening? Pretty knowingly now, there are a lot of people who are going and getting themselves diagnosed. Now, I want to ask you this question. What was, you are recently diagnosed on the spectrum. What was that moment that, you felt that, yes, this is something that I relate to? And what led you to go and get a diagnosis done?
First thing I would say is that I was by my family taken to a lot of psychologists and therapists. So called, I would say, because they did not help me. I had to, you know, switch on around six the professionals to finally get my answers, and I wouldn't say validation, but I think it was kind of a validation because the life that I've lived with my experiences, it was firstly I was labeled as a gifted child, and then later on when I couldn't navigate through my life from my tweens to early teens, then my teenage, and with whatever the competition is going on around increasing population and all that. So everything is high stakes for parents, given that if you pursue science, you either go to IITs or you either go to uh, AIMS, like reputed medical colleges. And so because of that, there was a lot of pressure, and the experiences that I had, the name calling which happened just because I was curious, that created a lot of pressure around me, which in turn then resulted in bad grades. Because if I don't get an answer for my question, I can't move on from that question. And unfortunately, the teaching in India is like, okay, this is the question and this is the answer. There are no more questions to be followed. Even when they say that I am your teacher, you can ask me a question 100 times. And I was the person who would ask maybe 102 times because the teacher just won't go deep enough in it. And I was also told by my peers that you don't have to go very deep. But that really didn't click me like anytime. Because, for example, I don't know if any one of you knows the electronic terms, but there is a concept called Wheatstone bridge. So it's like a diamond thing, aisa, and there are resistors connected. So I couldn't get my head around that concept. Even when everyone understood or maybe thought so, because students I know, they are afraid to ask questions. And that is not about me. I mean, I don't have the same experience or the same mindset to be embarrassed or what. In fact, it is the other way around because I ask questions. People name called me or even said that I take up a whole lot of the time from the lecture. So that was a difficult part. And even when I had, you know, contradictory remarks about myself from teachers, when teachers interacted with my parents, talked with my parents about my behavior, it was like, ये smart है, he has potential, but ये पढ़ता नहीं. I tried to explain many times that whatever I study, I just can't move on from a question.
You need your answer.
Yeah, I need your answer. I need my clarity to move on from it. Because I would say I wasn't that smart earlier to, go on Google and look deep into it. Because even, I was lucky to grow up with a computer. But this also matters that what surroundings and what upbringing you have, the kind of friends you grow up with. And I was always the outcast one, thinking outside the box and all. And my friends were like normal kids. So playing games, fighting, beating each other, bullying, that all, which happens in the childhood. And I was, the loner kind of type, even when I socialized much. So eventually, after in my 2016-17, which I think I was in my early teens, I sort of couldn't click with any of my peers. And then from that time onwards, I have always been around seniors. So as of today, my average friend group is age 27.
Elder.
Yeah. So there are like barely 20-year-olds I'm good friends with. So that is one thing. I mean, it took a detour, sorry. But the point I'm saying is that I never really felt like I belonged. So my parents in turn took me to therapists and psychologists and all, just because they wanted good grades from me. And it was not in their programming to find the correct question or navigate to the correct question to get the right answer. So because they were not looking for the correct questions, they couldn't figure out why I got bad grades even when I had potential. And when the hostel thing happened all in my life, like because of one of my cousins, something happened with him, which I don't think I should say on camera, but that kind of shook my dad. And it was not like very threatening or dangering. It was more of academic related. And so, yeah, because of my shift in academics, so that scared my dad, and I got put into hostel thinking that I would be disciplined and all, which ironically turned out to be complete opposite. The teachers were lethargic, and I have said it on their face as well, because you can only take, injustice or even negligence to a point where, so that thing, and after that, I was like, if I am here, at least I would, have a purpose for myself. So I engaged in martial arts. I started doing taekwondo and all. I did good, but then I had an injury, and then I was about out of that for 4 years. So my academics fell apart the moment I stepped into the hostel environment, and it was so isolated that me growing in cities, switching schools all in and over, whole my life, like I switched around, I think 7 to 8 schools. Yeah.
Crazy.
So because of that, and my hostel being in a remote area surrounded by a village, there were people from various backgrounds. I understood more about, I think, how humans behave, why they behave certain way. That, but it was on the compromise of my academics, and because of that one thing, I'm still scarred. But though I still have, high expectations from myself, I still want to learn math. Like I think I told Hero ma'am when I met. I still have curiosity about the world. I still want to solve the question of the cosmos.
My God. Such big dreams being shattered because of the norms, the inbox thinking of the education system, so to say.
See, I wouldn't only blame it all whole and soul on the education system. I think the root problem of everything around us is Asian parenting, because everything starts at
True. So true.
cleanliness. I can't tolerate, bad environments. If someone is throwing some litter around me, because there is litter, people throw litter. But I think I make sure that if I see someone throwing it, I would at least pick up and then throw it in the bin. That is my responsibility as a
Citizen.
human. I don't say citizen, but
Human. Yeah. A better term to put it.
yeah, because I think when you put citizen as a term, you enclose yourself to a certain imaginary boundary set by politicians and all. But yeah, that thing, and I can't tolerate rudeness out of nowhere. I mean, I will take it on me, make sure that I make the person feel heard if is or he or she, even they are going through something. But if they are persistent with their behavior, I tend to make sure that I set proper boundaries with them so that they won't hurt anyone else outside this. Because if someone I know personally, if someone is close to me, he or she lashes out on me, it is my responsibility to make sure that they don't do it somewhere where they are not supposed to. Because there are, there are people of many different backgrounds, not good upbringing, or probably even worse stories than mine. Confused, don't know how to navigate. They are only told to have thick skin, bully into getting their masking, getting their way. I wouldn't say masking, but like putting on a mask that someone you are not, show the world that you are strong for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, and those are the kind of people you have to be careful from, because they don't know what they are doing, even if they know. And I think, yeah.
So when you got the diagnosis,
Yeah, but I think
did you feel like, oh my God, I got answers to my questions, or was it like a mode of anger?
sort of both. I would reference the movie Rio here. The blue bird who doesn't know how to fly because he's domesticated, and then at the end of the movie, like, he has to save his friends. So he finally, you know, understands his own what mental cages and spreads his wing finally. That sort of thing. And the other thing that I would say is I was really resentful of the society around me, and I would say ki after that moment I rewatched Moana 1 and 2 and Superman, and I think I've been living on the motto which I repeat to myself when something out of line happens. So what would Superman do? And I henceforth uh, make sure that my actions are in the best interest of what would Superman do.
So, ma'am, now to counter question what he has said, you have a situation in front of you. We have Nirav here, totally confused. And this is what the situation of late diagnosed autistic individuals, adults, youngsters. So, this confusion, how do they address, and when do they understand that yes, they have to go and diagnose themselves?
So it all starts from the beginning. I think, as Neerav said, that once parents are vigilant enough and they know that something is off, and that's happening now. In fact, it wasn't there at my time, honestly.
Likewise.
Right. Parents think no. So it all boils down to the awareness that people have. And it's sad that, Neerav had to go through all those stages and encounter and go through those experiences. So it all boils down to the moment a parent notices something is off with my child, I go to a professional instead of Googling it. Instead of the latest thing is ChatGPT, Gemini, artificial intelligence. Instead of all of that, go to a professional and see, okay, if something is off, if there is a diagnosis, get things done, to avoid what Neerav has gone through, and see what more professional help can be.
Can I add to this?
Sure.
Okay, so as I said, I had to switch 6 professionals, and some of them had questionable practices, and I think even their offices seemed questionable. If you are, in a position where you have to see something from a scientific point of view, there can't be incense sticks and amethyst crystals and all. I mean, spirituality and science has to have some boundaries. So that was one thing. And I would like to add on the chat GPT thing. The 5 therapists I went to kind of exploited me, my parents actually, not me, for obviously the money, because the first time you go to, they give some kind of ultimatum and leave you on a cliffhanger. Then you go to next session. Okay, the next session is fine, second session is fine, follow up is basic. But after the second session, at least you should have some clarity that what you are navigating through. So 2,500 or 3,500 per hour per session is exploiting the normal human.
Of course.
Okay, however rich a person might be, that is just exploitation. And I think that us as a society have put, sorry to say, but doctors and lawyers and whoever are there to first aid, in any situation. Babas also in some context in a pedestal that they are not supposed to be. Uh, Coming back to my point, ChatGPT thing. So because of this expensive treatment, I think my parents would have spent around like 1.5 lakhs, which I regret as well. But because of ChatGPT and these AI tools, this was my first line of awareness and therapy. And I know the concern about privacy is like really huge, but if I'm getting help, if I'm uh, being able to navigate myself with some sort of tool, I really wouldn't mind, because at that time I am at my worst place and no one is there to relate or hear me, listen to me. Because of that, I was brave enough to give it another try, and I met a really nice doctor here in Chembur. Then he started prescribing me some medication. We experimented about 1 month, 2 months. Some suited me, some did not. Some did not. And a doctor before that one, when I went to, he just neglected it. Like he's a reputed neurologist. So he was like, कि चला जाएगा, migraine होगा अभी चला जाएगा, that all. So that is the condition in India right now. And the doctor which I experimented my medication with, he was really generous to give me a referral of another therapist, which I gave a shot. I mean, she also, you know, has a handsome fee for our sessions, but I don't know. She was really kind. She did all my sessions for free. After the first and second meet, we I had to wait about 2 months because there was a mismatch, and Dhanpati was going on. My home was under renovation and all that. So after my first session, in my first session, I got my confirmation that I have ADHD, which I have been knowing, suspecting for about 3 years before this, from like 2022. And the autism thing I came across around the time I dropped out of college, which was December 2024. And it all started making sense. And in my second session, just second session, no fees at all. She did not take any fees till now. I got diagnosed for autism, and my cousin was there as well with me, which I had told him before getting officially diagnosed. And so she spoke with him and all, and I felt, like I have people around me. I mean, he made the effort to come, sit, and understand what that is. He did not make me feel, judged even. And the doctor was also, what I'd say, kind to him as well. The using correct words. So the only thing I remember about that day is I couldn't stop my laughter for some reason. But yeah, that is it. So ChatGPT and AI tools have kind of helped me, which people don't give it credit for. I know it's bad for environment and all, but I think this is also because people are lonely. People use these tools to vent, find answers,
Find answers.
make all kinds of rubbish videos as well to entertain themselves. So, yeah.
It's a really sad thing that, he had to go through.
I wouldn't say it is sad. I mean, from a third perspective, it does kind of feel sad, but that just kind of projects that people prefer pity over empathy. So, like, instead of, if someone told me this, I wouldn't say it is sad. Like, I would just say, you had to go through what you had to go through. But from henceforth, I don't think you have to be alone in that, because if you want, I am here to be there for you, make you feel heard. That is what I can say.
It all boils down to the ethical practices that professionals adhere to. So that is what he mentioned. The exploitation part is the negatives of the field, and that was what I was referring to. That it's the sad truth that there are people in this world who call themselves, and it causes a lot of harm than repair, more damage than repair. And
So true.
he's a living example of it. So,
Okay, you being a psychologist, what is the emotional turmoil that these undiagnosed adults go through?
so it varies from individual to individual. Now, if you take Nirav's example, I think he seems to have a good level of insight where he knew what was happening with him. But on the other side, now autism spectrum disorder, we all know it's a spectrum, right? What if we had a kid or a teen or a young adult who was non-verbal, who was intellectually deficient, disabled? Would he or she know what he or she was going through? That would itself cause that individual to go into a shell all the more. So, as I said, it varies from individual to individual. Some are vocal enough, verbal enough to express, some aren't. And we know there are a lot of non-verbal autistic individuals. What about them? How quick are professionals and parents or caregivers to address that, take care of that? So the emotional turmoil could be huge to get to what you were asking. It all depends on the experiences. It all depends on the nature, the nurture, the environment, and the awareness, of course.
So that brings us to another question about honesty. So if we talk about individuals on the spectrums, they are pretty honest. They can't fake it. Whatever is in their mind is what they speak. So there is a good part to it and there is a flip side to it. So I would love to discuss that with you.
People on the spectrum, as you said, are blunt.
Yes.
And I've worked with so many children and teenagers, children who have grown into teenagers, that they progress from OT, occupational therapy, speech therapy, then they do remedial, then they go to behavior therapy, to help them navigate their emotions, etc. So I'll give you an example. It so happened with one of my therapy kids. He used to come to me for remedial during his peak, fourth, fifth grade, third, fourth, fifth grade. So we started from proper writing too. And now he doesn't need it that much. So he's undergoing BT. So I met him behavior therapy.
Okay.
So just for him to navigate, because through Nirav's example, right, not everybody would understand the child who is also going through hormonal changes, who also has autism spectrum disorder, but yes, who is verbal, who is super duper intelligent, but then certain things do disturb that child. So we've switched from all therapies to PT just to help him navigate. Okay. I happened to ask this child just 2-3 days ago, and I've been seeing him as young as I think he was 4 when he joined the center, and we've got a very good rapport. I built a very good rapport with him. So I just asked him, and he no longer comes to me, okay, for remedial sessions. I just asked him, XYZ, do you miss me? Do you miss my sessions? No, on my face, he's like, no. Okay. So I didn't take it personally. I know that he's a child. He's got blunt honesty. He's like, Nikita Didi, I don't want to come to you. I want to go to other Didi. Because he's no longer seeing me. But then when it was me, it was solely me. So I got all of that attention. I got all of that love. He would come and he would hug me, etc. Now I have to actually ask him, can I get a hug? Can I get a high five? Because he'll not come and approach me. So that is a part of children being on and individuals being on the spectrum. They don't know how to sugarcoat things. They don't understand sarcasm. They would just say things upfront that not everybody would get. I, as a therapist, would get. A parent would get it. Someone else on the spectrum would get it. Not everybody would get it. And that is why he's finding it difficult to navigate in school with his peers, with his class teachers, in down the building, in society, everywhere. So hence we are training him to put it out there to avoid what Nirav has gone through. Because he's a super intelligent boy. And there are many kids like him, who need that kind of support. But one thing is commendable that the school is supportive. That is what is required. The school understands the child's concern. And we're doing our best as therapists. So yeah, blunt honesty is something that they come with.
Yeah.
They're not us. I can be bluntly honest and then someone can just slap me across the face. Right. But I'm not on the spectrum. So I know how to navigate through my words and put it out there with a lot of coating of sugar. But kids on the spectrum don't. So yeah, but yes, we can train them, but then it's inbuilt, it's inherent. They can't, they just can't. So you have to take it. Again, not everyone would understand that.
So Nirav, ma'am has spoken with her experience. You have gone through it.
Yes.
How was that experience wherein did people understand your honesty? Did they take it in the right way? Did it work for you, or has it worked the flip side for you?
Everything in the negatives. But one positive thing I would say about this, that I learned diplomacy.
Okay, you had to learn it.
Yeah. And I would say terrible experiences. But because I learned diplomacy, I am able to talk to my friends, communicate with them in a better manner, help them navigate through their expressions, even when they are neurotypical. Because at the age I am, 20s, early 20s, I'll be 21 in about 3 months now. So this age, for all of human history, has been filled with positions like kings, generals, warriors, that sort of thing. Great brains. And we are at a point in human evolution that everything I feel is purposefully being delayed. I mean, it's not all that bad, but there are adverse effects to it. So, being the person who can help other people navigate through their emotions, through what their actions, if they are wrong, right, if they just, lashed out, express their anger on the wrong person, as I said earlier as well. So, because of what I went through, I learned so much on my own and from movies. And I think from the last year or so, I have built this aura around me that people find me welcoming now, which is really new to me because I had the worst experiences with people in my teens, even 12th or even first year of college. I used to say that I hate people, cling on to one person, people closest, thought that my world revolved around them. Because I did not get enough time for myself, because I did not know what autism was at that time, and amongst this, I have said it many times to my friends, cousins as well, that dropping out of college, getting out of the system was the best thing that I did for myself in all my life, because I finally found my fortress of solitude in myself. I think DC fans and Superman fans would get this reference. So yeah.
So it's really tough for them to handle this because the world is not prepared for truths.
And I feel, I don't know, I think this would be a lot of self-centered or something, but because of me dropping out, the things that I learned, the things that I understood, the retrospect, reflection on myself, I think because of that one decision, even if my academics is like messed up, I think I'm able to help other people more than what I think of myself. Something good out of it. Even if everyone around me thinks that it was a bad decision.
I think at one point of time, you do realize that it's not about people, it's about you. If you have evolved and in a better way and you have understood yourself and what you want, I think then it doesn't matter what the world has perceived about you. Is what my thought process is.
There comes
Yeah.
a lot of courage in us. Yes, it does. He's been so resilient.
Very. And still he's thinking that how he should be helpful to others so that, he's trying to build a friendly sort of an environment. Still.
Yeah, I mean, I was really resentful of people back, 6 months ago, I think. And I just hated everyone. And like on social media as well, hate is so common. Like it is an anchor, everything around you.
Yes.
Once you like on a political reel, then all your feed is filled with, hatred and
Negative.
mobs and all that. So the recent experience that I had was I was at a authentic Japanese event at the Worli. It was really beautiful, not crowded at all, peaceful for me.
Yeah.
And there was a cosplay competition along with it. People dressed as anime characters. I used to hate that, but recently I've grown into it. Like people have other interests that it's not everything about me or what I like, but saturation and also that is one thing. I dressed as Batman, which I had made about 2 years ago. I couldn't even sit in it, and when I wore it, it just kind of tore. I had to repair it on the spot. And there were only me and another friend of mine who was also a character from Greek gaming, but the character was in fact Japanese persona, like authentic Japanese warrior, samurai. So he scored the first place. I came third. Another girl came second. So that was not the highlight of my day at all. Even when that was the first time I had a win in this community, cosplay community. The highlight of my day, I would say, is when I, you know, came from backstage after my performance. People come approach you and ask for photographs, and when there is a big group, I had to put on the mask because the mask is actually very heavy and you can really see anything except this much. So I got ready. A teenager approached me. I think he would be around 15, 16, 17 at tops, and he was handicapped. That was the first handicapped person that I had interacted with those leg supports between his arms. He clicked a picture with me, and I don't know what went through my mind that day. So there is a thing called Batarang. It is one of Batman's weapons in his arsenal. So I had made those props, quite a few. I had around 3, 4 with me at that time. So when he clicked a picture and went away with his friend. I stopped him and gave one to him. And since that day, I'm still feeling guilty about it because I think, I don't know if I did it out of pity or out of kindness. I couldn't figure it out. But I think I made the right call there because I don't know what that person is going through. Then after that, some awakening happened to me and it felt nice, giving. So I gave away the rest of my props that I had, batarang ones, to small kids. And the last kid that approached me just right after I gave him a last batarang, he kind of seen bump, so I offered him to, wear the mask, and his mom was happy with it. So yeah, that happened. That is the highlight of my that day. Not the winning, not the meeting friend and all. That specific moment.
That connection
Yes.
with new people who have recognized that, yes.
And when I gave away that batarang, I finally understood what responsibility comes with the costume you are wearing, the character you are representing. I had never in my last 2 years, ever since I made that costume, had realized this, because at that time it was all about winning the competition and losing and getting bummed. But this time onward, it was all about, I represent something when I wear it. The funny part is, when you take off the mask, people don't expect a long-haired brown teenager. So kids are often, kind of like bummed at that point, or even scared कि भाई ये कौन आ गया.
So we do know in school, these children go through a lot of bullying, labeling. So how damaging is all of this, and how does this affect their life? First, I would love to know your perspective, and then definitely the lived experience.
It is the saddest state of affairs, especially in schools that are called inclusive but do not follow the inclusivity principle. But of late, children themselves are understanding, are even more understanding, in fact, that there is a different child in my class and I should be more supportive. I think that comes with the generational understanding as compared to what Neerav had to go through. So it's all about that shift, But nonetheless, these kids do go through the bullying part. Again, the severity would be different. Maybe a child on the spectrum who would be verbal would undergo something more as compared to a child who would be non-verbal, because children understand that, okay, this guy can't speak, so let's not disturb him more, versus oh, this guy can speak, he can understand a lot, so let's go disturb him more. So again, it depends, it varies. And we've had experiences, or I've seen examples where intelligent children on the spectrum get blamed for things unnecessarily. Maybe they couldn't stand up for themselves, and they couldn't articulate that really well, that they got वो फंस गए, they got stuck and they got blamed. And then we had to work around making the child understand that it's okay to stand up, it's okay to say no, it's okay to just be yourself. So it again all depends on the severity of the child on the spectrum, the level of understanding that the child has. But yes, we can do a lot when it comes to awareness to stop or to reduce the emotional trauma or the bullying or the labeling that sometimes even teachers tend to do that. Yes, that this child is on the spectrum, this child has a shadow teacher, so I will not focus so much on that child. I will not give the child that opportunity to speak up or to answer. Where is the inclusivity then? So I wish this all gets a little more positive, but again, that's the system. So and then again, that works. If I were that particular child, it would work negatively on me. I would feel like, why isn't teacher asking me? Why am I not being called? And I know the answer. I know to draw that particular diagram. I know the answer to this algebra question. Why isn't she calling me? Just because I'm with a shadow teacher. So it does negatively, and that's the sad truth. And that's where behavior therapy and working with the school counselor and working with the teacher and the parents comes into picture. So I would be talking more on the therapeutic part that yes, we've got to work a lot with these children's emotions. And if you let go of them, if you just leave it, say that okay, the child will go through it, child will understand, he's very intelligent, he will understand. Somewhere down the line it is going to affect the child. Whether it is in social relationships, whether it is in personal, because they have their own personal lives. Whether it is in thinking, whether it is anything, it will definitely affect them. So we've got to address them. At least as therapists, we have that responsibility to address it. But then it should come, I think, as a society. It should come as a school. It should come as a family, caregivers, everything.
True that.
So I can only imagine what Nirav may have gone through. But then his perspective currently is amazing.
Yeah. He's not let that affect. Yeah, it has affected him, but he's not.
He's not bound or yet. He's not shadowed or he's not concretized his thinking that no, I will just not socialize. I will just, okay, इसने मेरे साथ ऐसे किया, I will just not, I will generalize it to every human being on the earth. So it's great.
Yeah.
His perspective is amazing.
Over to you, Nirav. We want to hear it from you.
Okay, so like she said, the latest point that I did not generalize it. I actually did for a long time. And as I said, two best things that happened in my life were in the last 3 years. One is dropping out of the college that I was in, because obviously there I was getting bullied by teachers, not students, professors. The second one is, I think, unlearning things, trying to understand world from empathy, not pity, not sympathy, not anger, subjectively, objectively, whatever the terms are. But I have developed a mindset now. I think at this point is the best for me and the best for the people I care about, even when they won't realize it. So yeah, and now moving back to the schooling part, the terms that she used, I am completely unfamiliar with them. Whatever proxy teacher or someone that is, I did not have it. As I said, I switched schools a lot. So about I think 6-7 schools that I switched from, when I was 3 years old. The longest that I stayed in the school was here in Chembur. I don't know if I should name it, but it is a very popular school, boys' school. So anyone from Chembur who's here in this might have gotten the idea. So I got bullied by my peers and teachers in that school. Also, there were a few teachers that cared about me as well, appreciated my art, because I was always famous in any school for my art. I don't have many friends that I'm connected with from that particular school, but the hostel that I was in, that I would say was the worst schooling experience in my life. Even when good things like sports were happening to me, because me being a city boy, me being on the spectrum which I was not aware for, at least I won't be aware for the next 7 to 8 years now, was really difficult. Puberty and all. Then there are people who make sure that you look your worst, when hormonal change happens, acne comes, and on top of that, hard water. So skin infections and all. Then the migraine part, which I have since birth. So when that came to light, when that started happening again severely, people started treating me like something delicate. That was really different. At first, it was kind of a relief, but when it was recurring, it sort of felt like, "Bhai, nahi, matlab, don't treat me like this." A lot of bad things happened as well, like extreme kinds, but those taught me that I can take good beating, and like I'm not as weak as people perceive me. And because people perceive that I'm weak, I myself thought that I was weak, physically and mentally both. And those few incidents that happened that proved otherwise, I was physically strong, I was mentally strong, and at a point I broke down. And ever since I got into the hostel, I was suffering from depression. At first, it was very unfamiliar, confusing. I thought like it is what it is supposed to be, because hormonal changes, teenage is really confusing. You don't know what happens, what you are doing, what you are supposed to do. Eventually, about 3 to 4 years later, when yeah, and the worst part is lockdown, where 10 हम लोग का 2005 2006 वालों का तो 10th हुआ ही नहीं. The first board exam that I gave was directly 12th, and I messed up in the only subject that I was really good at, which is English.
What?
So the funny thing that I did is write the paper twice, once in pencil, second time in pen,
Oh,
out of fear. But after that, I did not make any mistakes, and sadly, I got fever mid my maths paper. So things have happened, but bullying and bullying in a life of an person on the spectrum, a child on the spectrum, is, I think, kind of testing yourself, because bullying won't stop. Some way or the other, it would happen. Likely, it would soften. Likely, someone would just lash out on you or treat you like a child because you're special. Even when they think it is kindness, to you, you might perceive like you are being, underestimated. So that won't change. The thing only you can change is if you are something like me, kind of high functioning, uh, you know, being able to navigate at a later point of time as well, you can get through it. But if there is a child or there is a person on the spectrum who is still as confused, not that gifted, so they sure do need help. But help is not pity, and people should know how to differentiate it from pity and kindness.
a very, very, very powerful point put across. And it's crazy to know that so much you have been through, but still you have come out really.
One thing also I would like to add, the thing that I said about what would Superman do. So bullying comes from feeling small to feeling big. A bully only bullies if he is getting bullied. He or she is getting bullied. So kids don't understand this. I'm glad that I do now. But if you are getting bullied, that means that the person who is bullying you wants to feel some control over their life,
Yeah.
some power.
What they are missing.
Yeah, what they are missing. Maybe it is because of the family, maybe it is because of someone around them. Maybe it is a teacher. I got bullied just for asking a lot of questions. So when I understood this, I just shifted my point of view from, being the victim to what would Superman do. Just try to put myself in those uh, bigger than world, you know, bigger than life figure. That if I could fly, if I could, fight aliens, would I be picking up on this person? No, right?
You have a bigger mission to accomplish rather than thinking about these petty matters.
Yeah.
So, Nirav, when you actually got the diagnosis, was that a moment of anger or a moment of relief?
It was both, but there was also something else which kind of I addressed it with my therapist who was helping me navigate कि क्या चल रहा है मेरी life में, and it was like I could do maths. It just unlocked. I was struggling with maths and I still do for I think about 8-9 years now, and it just unlocked. There is no other feeling that I can compare it to, because I don't think that I have felt it before or anyone else has ever felt it. But I could just see things and the equations would pop in my mind. I could like see the holograms and all. So for example, I see an object and I could say that ये तो normal distribution है. And I could see a crowd. I could tell that how the entropy is growing. Entropy is randomness of something, how random things are. So if there is dense crowd, claustrophobic type of thing, so that is low entropy. The crowd is scattered, the high entropy, that sort of thing. The problem with society is कि they want everyone to be normal. They want everyone to be look the same, because they want to feel less lonely. And that sort of thing is like, when they want this, they also want to worship legends like Albert Einstein, Ramanujan, then Marie Curie, who has just got recognition recently, Nikola Tesla, and famous personas like that. And just don't want to address the lonely bits of it, the hard parts, the weird quirks, the antisocial aspects of their life. That is not ever mentioned in it. I feel that if a person is to be great in life, their path is going to be always lonely, always messed up. No good relations can be consistent with them, and if they are very lucky, because for Einstein, I would say, as example, his married life was pretty messed up. He was addicted to lustful pleasures. So he had, I think, 2 to 3 marriages in his life, and I don't know what the right word is for this, but mistresses. So even when he was a greatest mind we had in human history, there are some things that people would call negatives, but just because he has a legend persona, people overshadow it.
Something I also didn't know about.
Yeah, even I didn't know about it.
Like Einstein, mistresses.
Ah,
Yeah. There were 2 of his assistants, like not together, but at different points of time. He married he married, I think, someone from his classes, the only woman in his field, and then Zurich Polytechnic. And then when he was married, I think they had 2 children. He cheated on her with his cousin. So
Where does history talk about all of this? I wonder.
yeah, where did you get this information?
I mean, the books that I read, I don't usually read books, but the books that I read are mostly science based, or intense fiction, thrillers, or Sherlock Holmes type of thing. And the shows that I watch are also kind of that. And there was this show, created by Nat Geo, I think. Genius. The first season was on Albert Einstein. The second season was on Picasso. For Albert Einstein, I think was played by Michael Gambon, and Picasso was played by Hugh Laurie.
Oh,
Doctor House guy.
yeah. So they give you the entire history of the person.
I don't think history. It is kind of like they want to make it a biopic, but it is entertainment media. So don't know very much of very much of facts are altered, and even what we perceive as real history create personas, which I think what I would say is very controversial, and a mob would come find me. But even if the history, if we think that is true, I
never know what is
yeah fact. You never know. I don't consider any history to be true unless I have experienced it firsthand.
Then it's not history, no? If it is first-hand experience.
Yeah, I mean it is history because it has already happened in our life.
Okay, so now that we have been talking about relationships, how does an individual who has been diagnosed late on the spectrum affect relationships? So first I would love to know from you, and then I would love to know from you.
I think, as I said, right, not all individuals are built with that ability to understand a person on the spectrum. So it is quite difficult, again, to navigate through love and relationships and to understand the nitty-gritties. I think this series that came out on Netflix, forgot the name. No, not The Good Doctor. The other one with the teenager on the spectrum who then went. I forgot the name of the series. You know, so his partner. He's a college going kid. He has an elder sibling or a younger sibling. I don't know. His partner just, finds it difficult. He also finds it difficult. So his way of showing affection is different. His way of communicating to her is different. She expects something else from him, but she understands that he's on the spectrum. So that understanding part is there, but then still, society has made us think in such a way that, okay, you buy me a flower, that shows me your love. But his way of expressing love was different. So yes, they do find it very difficult. Not everybody again would understand the blunt honesty and the not understanding of sarcasm and taking things literally, especially for someone who is on the spectrum. So again, we've got to train them, or unless the individual on the spectrum finds a partner who is truly understanding, or who is also on the spectrum, then there are negatives to both, but it is difficult. I can only imagine. I think Neerav would be better able to, get, yes, because he is in there. Maybe let's not get too personal, but yeah, there are all difficulties because socialization is one of the key things in autism spectrum disorder. You do not indulge in socializing. But yes, maybe if you are a high functioning child or an individual, you are growing, right? You have those hormones being released. You are experiencing attraction. You have those, fantasies, thoughts that will, just because you are on the spectrum, that does not stop you from experiencing what a regular human being would. So you want to experience it, but you don't know how, maybe. Don't know how to navigate through that. And then you either give it a try and see where life takes you, or you just shut down, or you find a way with the help of somebody else. So I think he can be a spokesperson of how.
Yes. So Neerav, you have to tell us, how have your friendships been? And have you been into any kind of a love relationship? And how have you gone for a date? How has this aspect of life been?
So I think firstly, I consider myself as an early bloomer, if not, the proper puberty, but mentally. I think the attraction part of this came to me about when I was 7, 8 years old, which is like not normal. But it was a, very new feeling. No one around me knows this. And, parents are like in taboo kind of thing for parents. Then eventually I was 11, 12, had a first crush, that you don't know things, you learn from social media. In 2016, 17, social media was like something else. It was growing, yet it was stable. So it was not like something it is today. कि ये खराब है या फिर that was whole another world. कि social media was considered not this. So expectations, फिर बाद में the algorithm shows you poetry and stuff, movies वगैरह, rom-com वगैरह. Then you have then you change your expectations based on that. Where things don't work out and it is your first time, so you don't know what to do, so you're into the sadness. And this was about the time when I said like I was just put into hostel, so very big transition, depression started and all. And after when I was got out of the hostel, which was also unconventional because I was took out of 9th. My 10th also went as hell. I did not pass out from any school.
Oh.
So yeah, that's why I don't have many school friends. But I think I have had tries about 6 times, I think. And most of them were just out of, never passed a certain stage, probably talking, probably like, being a good friend, like being the first friend, or even, if we even got closer, then some or the other thing happened. There is something called as reading on someone. Like hope देके फिर बाद में गाजर खिला के नहीं दी दिया. That sort of thing. So after all that, the most, I think, most close thing I would say was about 2 years ago in my first year of college. I was doing mentally terrible at that time because firstly तो वो हवा रहती है कि भाई new environment, you have that Bollywood वाला expectation, but I did not have it because you Bollywood से I never connected really पहले. But seeing other people around, you want to fit in. That was one thing. And I got close to someone. And the tricky part here is our generation have a lot of terms which even I don't understand because those terms keep evolving so fast. Faster than Mumbai local. So there is this term called situationship, which I still don't understand, but I think the baseline is that you want you are considered in a situation with someone who wants the benefit of a relationship without the commitment of money.
This is complicated.
Even I don't get
I
it.
have to think back.
I mean,
what did you
either it is this or it is not.
Yeah.
And there is this another thing called go with the flow. Let's see what happens. I mean, isn't that just being friends and evolving into it? I mean, why are you implying it in the first place that you want to be friends first, and then let's see what happens? It doesn't make any sense.
I think here is where the truth and the society does not accept truth is what plays a role here, because y'all are expecting honesty, y'all are expecting a sort of sturdy relationship, and nowadays the world is, they don't want to come into commitments, they don't want to. So I think, yeah, that's where the
Said ki my average friend group age is I'm 26, 27, and I also said that I'm an early bloomer in this kind of thing. So it is I think about a 7 to 10 years difference in mindset. So if I find someone attractive, I don't match with them if they're my age, and like if I do match, they are at an age he is supposed to be my mentor. That is one thing. And coming back to the thing, that situationship so called, which she implied, but I thought it was something real. That scarred me pretty bad, and it gave me terrible anxiety. I started having panic attacks and all. Then after this, the college thing happened, dropout and all. I think if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have, dropped out of college. Not because of only that, but that was one of the key things that happened. Nudge, you would say. So, and after that, I wasn't looking out दो साल तक. But recently, when you start going out again, socializing, so there is ऐसा कि everyone has their own bubble groups.
Correct.
You are just trying to figure out you fit in which one.
Which one?
And given what my personality is, the people that I fit with, they have been already friends for about 5 years before me. So like, I can't be the one.
Getting
Who's-
into that group now is
And
stuff.
people my age enjoy things like F1 and all. And I wouldn't say it's bad. I just don't enjoy cars going.
That's not true.
And yeah, and the funny part about this is when I was in college, I don't know if I've told any of you this, but I worked on a sports car with my team. I was the only junior on the team because I knew how to work with materials. And the worst, I would say, I don't know, the pressuring part was that I had to create a body out of fiber in 4 days, which is kind of impossible and not recommended, because making a proper fiber body with good aesthetics, good aerodynamics has to be about minimum 1 month. There is a lot of process, but I still managed to make the body stand, give it proper insulation and all.
In 4 days.
Yeah. And I was the only one on the team who knew nothing about sports car or race except from the movie Cars from Pixar. And everyone around me was talking about, this racer Max Verstappen and then Charles Leclerc and then MotoGP and all that. And I was totally unfamiliar with it. I just knew how to work around my things with my tools, what I knew. And because of that, I was a part of it. So we took that car to Delhi, Noida, no, in Galgotia's University, I think. And in electronic vehicle category, electrical vehicle, we came second after IIT Kanpur.
So, in a nutshell, if you could tell me, yeah. So, is it difficult to build relationships?
Yes, as I said, it's been 2 years now. While trying to socialize, while figuring out what your friend group is, it catches up to you. He like, abhi to koi to chahiye. You need someone to talk to. Like, your friends won't be able to be, around you 24/7. Even if you have a partner, they would be around 24/7, but at least they would be there for the most of the time. And I think that is the part. So I don't know if I'm actively searching or something, but there is some kind of hope.